Hello and welcome back to Simple Money Podcast, Canada's own personal finance podcast presented in short and informative episodes. I'm your host, Matthew Seawick, also known as the Friendly Financial Coach. So before we jump into the material of today's show, I just want to give a big thank you to all of those that contributed to our Patreon account. I'm eternally grateful for all your support, and your assistance really helps keep the show going. And for anyone interested, we'll be including a link to the Patreon account in the show notes and blog post. So today we're going to take a deep look into the recent CRA cyber attack, how it occurred, what will happen to those people that were hacked, and how we can all prevent a similar issue from affecting us in the future. So to really understand this hack, it's best to listen to the individual stories of all the people that were affected. And what we see is that there's a similar design. First, they would receive an email notification stating that their CRA email or their direct deposit was changed. Those that were hacked would then typically contact the CRA or ignore it completely, thinking that it was just some kind of a phishing email. And in many of those cases, even those that contacted the CRA were often told that this was just an isolated incident and really was nothing to worry about. Unfortunately, this was not the case, and the CRA even publicly stated that they didn't immediately notify affected individuals while they were investigating behind the scenes. And the main goal of the attack was to apply for the Canada Emergency Response Benefit, more commonly known as CERB, and have it paid out to an account not associated to the individual that was affected by the hack. It's also assumed that the receiving bank accounts were likely fraudulently opened or were opened by individuals who were convinced to open the account for another party. Now, my first suspicions that something odd was occurring at the CRA and with CERB really began a few weeks ago when I started to hear from Canadians that were telling me that their CRA accounts and the CERB payments were being sent to someone else. Now, a couple cases of this can be an isolated incident, but I kept on hearing stories of this occurring. So obviously there was something bigger that was happening. The response to these individuals by the CRA was to freeze their account and investigate, a process that, for many individuals, seemed to take over a whole month. At this point, there was no official announcements from the CRA. But this changed just over the past weekend when the CRA publicly announced that there were multiple hacks and they shut down the affected web portals. As of writing this, CRA My Account and GC keys are still down. So the first question that everyone has is, how did this hack occur to a system that many people believe were very secure? So the answer to this is that there was a type of attack called credential stuffing that occurred. The basic way that this hack works is that a database of existing usernames and passwords are entered into the attacked website in the hope that a few of these work. And if it does, then they have complete access. One of the things that this hack really relies upon is that people are reusing passwords and not changing them very frequently. And the source of these kind of databases are typically acquired through past hacking or phishing campaigns. One example that shows how massive these databases can be is called Collection 1 to 5. This gigantic database has 2.2 billion unique usernames and passwords that were collected from past hacks. The most frightening part is that this database is freely available as a simple text document online. And other similar databases are being sold in the dark web, which can include more recent hacks. And once a hacker has a database, then what they need to figure out is how to actually enter the data on the site. So to do this, they use malicious software that uses proxies to make it look like the request is coming from different IPs, browser types, and other origin details. That way, it's not brought to the attention of the administrator of the attacked website that a concentrated attack from one origin is occurring. In many cases, websites may not even know that they are affected by this type of attack. And with these types of hacks, the majority of the attempts made with usernames and passwords from the database don't work, but in some cases they do. Wired magazine estimated that the chances of success are about 0.1 to 0.2%. So the larger the database, the more successful the hack will be. And this brings us to the CRA attack. Currently unidentified hackers launched numerous attacks against the CRA My Account and GC keys. In total, the CRA estimates that approximately 11,200 accounts were affected. So using the success ratio of 0.1%, this would mean that the database that was used was approximately 11,200,000 login credentials, which is obviously humongous. And the full depth of the harm caused is not fully known. For what we do know is that thousands of Canadians have had CERB payments claimed under their names and redirected to other individuals. And in the aftermath of the situation, this attack will unfortunately hound the affected individuals for a very long time. It's uncertain what type of information was harvested from the CRA breach, but likely contains SIN numbers, birth dates, addresses, and other extremely valuable information. This information can then be used for future identity theft and other kinds of scams. Similarly, the login information used from the databases can also be applied to other websites in an attempt to access their services as well. In response to this hack, the CRA has stated that they will begin immediately contacting affected individuals through phone, email, and mail. As always, there will be other rebound scammers that will pretend to be the CRA officials responding to this attack trying to get your information. And the CRA has stated that they're going to provide assistance and credit protection for those that were affected. It's a little unclear what will be included, but likely credit watch services and possibly a basic insurance against future identity theft. And while not stated by the CRA, those that are affected or believe that they may be affected should act right away. Change all passwords to unique ones for every single login service, add fraud alerts onto your credit bureaus, notify all of your financial institutions that you use about the breach, and if you can, put a port block on your cell phone. Also, be on the watch for targeted phishing emails. As always, these protections are not guaranteed, but they can definitely put up additional barriers that can frustrate a scammer. So for those people that weren't affected by this scam, but want to protect themselves in the future, what can we do? For this hack, the root problem that really instigated all of this was that individuals were reusing the same passwords for multiple websites and not updating them. The first thing that someone can do is have unique passwords for every login and enable two-factor verification if available. Using an app for two-factor verification and a password manager can further protect your security. And basically what you want to do here is put up as many barriers as possible. And as always, be on the lookout for phishing scams and don't open or click any email links that you don't trust. These phishing attempts can easily compromise your username and password. On top of that, make sure that you do basic things like updating your operating system and make sure all your software is up to date. So as you can see, this is a pretty big situation and more information is going to come out as the days go on. But it's very important that we protect ourselves in as many ways as possible. So that's it for today. Thank you again for listening to Simple Money Podcast. As always, you can contact me directly at info@ffcoach or find me at Twitter at F_F Coach. Take care and be well.